I am First Fruits. This is a chapter by chapter Bible study series where we wake up for the whole world and we read the Bible instead of scrolling on our phones, instead of diving into the world that is social media. We dive into the world that is for our God. If you've already read your chapter, you might be a little nervous about how this is going to go, talking about measurements and things like that for the temple. But let me tell you, what God gave me this morning for you guys is good. It's so good. I cannot wait to share it. First, I'm going to do a little recap of chapter 5. In chapter 5, we learn about Solomon dabbling into trade. He is learning about commerce and foreign diplomacy, and he is getting building materials for the temple. We learn about how Solomon plans all this, his workforce, how he lays it out, and we also learn that it was because the Lord gave Solomon wisdom as he had promised. We are in 1 Kings chapter 6. Solomon began to build the temple for the Lord in the 480th year after the Israelites came out of the land of Egypt. I always think of the Prince of Egypt movie. In the 4th year of his reign over Israel, in the month of Ziv, which is the second month, the temple that King Solomon built for the Lord was 90 feet long, 30 feet wide, and 40 feet high. The portico, and don't zone out, stay with me. The front of the temple sanctuary was 30 feet long, extending across the temple's width, and 15 feet deep in front of the temple. He also made windows with beveled frames for the temples. Verse 1 through 10 are basically measurements. Why is it important? Well, in order to get an accurate picture of what this thing looked like, we needed to have specifics. Here is an image of what we think it might look like. This one is the most recent one, it seems, and then there's also this one that shows more of the inside detail with all the gold and stuff. Is one of my child's Bibles, but this one is also, but I don't think this is as accurate from the pictures that I saw online that were more to the description of what the Bible lists. And that's why details are important. Something interesting here. In verse 7 of 6, it says the temple's construction used finished stones cut at the quarry so that no hammer, chisel, or any iron tool was heard in the temple while it was being built. This was a silent construction. I thought to myself, that's interesting. I wonder why God would do that. So I did some digging on symbolism and what this might be and why it was a silent construction. And here's what I found. This is a symbolism of peace versus violence. David, he living a violent life. He was a warrior. It was not a time that God wanted his temple built. And then Solomon is living this quiet, restful time, and his temple, God's temple, is built in the same way. Another thing we know about God is his work is never noisy. He showed great signs and wonders that were often noisy, like when Samuel was talking and thunder and stuff came from the sky. But when we have his Holy Spirit, we notice that it's quiet, that it's still small voice, that when he does move and he operates, it is in a place of peace. The Bible goes on to mention measurements, and then it kind of goes from measurements to stone, and then stone to wood, and then it talks about the gold. It talks about the types of wood that it was used, all amazing wood. It talks about how it was ornamental gourds, flower blossoms, just beautiful palm trees. It was very decorative as well. In verse 11, the word of the Lord came to Solomon, as for this temple you are building, if you walk in my statutes, observe my ordinances, and keep my commands by walking in them, I will fulfill my promise to you which I made to your father David. I will dwell among the Israelites and not abandon my people, Israel. Before David, he would talk about, or he made a statement where he did not like that God, remember we talked about the Ark of the Covenant and how it was laid out. The Ark of the Covenant is where God's Spirit rested. why it was laid out the way it was. You had an outer layer, and then you had the tent layer, and then you had the Ark of the Covenant of God with the cherubim sitting in it. That's where they would sacrifice the blood as an atonement for their sins. They did this yearly. This temple is just a blown up huge version of that. Very beautiful, very dedicated to God. David talked about how he did not like that the Lord dwelled in a tent and he was dwelling in a palace. And God said, this is a paraphrased Rennie version. It's really funny. But you're not going to build my temple. And then he even references that he's going to bring the Messiah. He's going to bring up David's house in reference to the Messiah coming, how he would become the temple, and how we, through Jesus' Spirit, would become a temple. I mean, if that don't make you excited, I don't know what would. How the temple was set up, there was different divisions. You could not, remember on the Ark of God, in that tent, you could not step foot to a certain degree. You didn't go past the veil unless you were a high priest. Similar to this temple, there are divisions that us normal sinful humanity, we can't go past a certain point. So these temples, they still divided God and his people. The temple was Old Testament, Old Covenant. Jesus, in John 2:19 through 21, Jesus talks about how his own body is a temple. Jesus' death created direct access to God for all believers. So it went from a temple with divisions and a separation, a veil that separated us. When Jesus died on the cross, he gave us direct access to God, to his Holy Spirit. Wow. If y'all like praising the Lord on the other side of that screen, wake up. A new covenant. There wasn't a life-giving force like we have now in that physical temple that is no longer even as great and beautiful as it was. The life-giving force, thanks to Jesus Christ, is now dwelling in us. God knew that we, his children, his people, could not continue to keep what the Lord tells us when he tells us to observe all the ordinance, to keep all my commands, to continue to do sacrifices, to continue. God knew. He knew. And so he was planning on sending his son for so long. It was prophesied, God spoke it, and he knew. And the fact that our Father already fixed a problem that we had because he loved us that much, and the way he did it in, how can you not feel that massive amount of love for you, whoever's watching this? It's not just me, it is for all people of the world. For God so loved the world that he gave his son. Now it's up to you whether you believe it. It's up to you whether you receive it and accept that and decide that you want it. Well, I'll see you all in the next 4 a.m. as we dive into chapter 7. Thank you for watching.